Good afternoon. It is September 24th, 2023, and it is the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time. And today in the Gospel, we have this interesting story of the owner of the vineyard who goes to hire laborers to work in his vineyard. And he goes out at the beginning of the day, which for them would be about 6 o'clock in the morning, and he negotiates a salary for the day. And he sends workers out into his vineyard. Then he goes back at noon, and there's more people standing around the marketplace, and so he hires them and sends them out too. And then again at 3, and then again at 5. And at the end of the day, for that part of the world, it would be 6 o'clock in the evening. Basically, they would have worked a 12-hour shift for some of them, and some of them a 1-hour shift. And of course, the landowner pays everybody the same thing. The ones that worked 1 hour, the ones that worked 3 hours, the ones that worked 6 hours, the ones that worked a full day, everybody gets the same thing. Now I have to admit, the accountant in me goes, are you crazy? You've wasted all that money. You should have paid them based on a percentage of the time that they worked. But then we're reminded that God does not look at things the way you and I do. God's understanding is not the same as you and mine. And the thing is, this whole image is about our journey to eternal life. And for us as Catholics, cradle Catholics, well, when we were baptized, that was part of our journey. And we will spend our entire lifetime working in the vineyard with the payment of eternal life. And hopefully our work in the vineyard is acceptable. But then again, we have people who come in later. In the church, in the Catholic Church, we have many people who have come into the church at Easter every year. And they come into the church because they recognize that we have something that you and I have a tendency to take for granted. It's called the Eucharist, the body, blood, soul, and divinity of Jesus Christ. It's very easy to take it for granted, but it's what Jesus left us to help get us to eternal life. All the sacraments lead us towards eternal life. But the sacrament of the Eucharist especially. For Jesus prays that you and I might be one with him as he is one with the Father. And the gift that he gives us so that we might unite ourselves more closely to him or unite ourselves completely to him is the Eucharist. His body, his blood, his soul, his divinity. Jesus said, if you do not eat my body and drink my blood, you will have no life within you. And Jesus says, there are many rooms in my Father's house. If there were not, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you so that where I am, you may be also. And Thomas says, but we don't know. We don't know the way. And Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And that life comes through the Eucharist. You see, these people who come later, they're a reminder to us. Because frequently, their conversion or their coming to the Catholic faith should challenge us and remind us of what we have, though we have a tendency to take for granted. And frequently it's people who have that deathbed conversion. I started working with palliative back in 97, 98. And when you work with people who are dying, there's a number of things you learn. One is I've never met anybody who died in pain, but I've met many people who are dying in anguish of spiritual or mental pain. Our medical profession has all kinds of cocktails that seem to take care of almost any kind of pain, except for spiritual or mental. Sitting with the person who all of a sudden is realizing that, so what comes next? They've been telling me that I'm going to die, and they've given me weeks, months, days, whatever. And then what? Then what? Is it just all over and done? And here in Canada, there is nobody in this country who does not know about Jesus Christ. You cannot have lived in Canada for any more than 2 years and not have discovered Christmas. You live in Canada, we celebrate Christmas. Now, people may buy gifts for all kinds of reasons, but we know that Christmas, that Jesus Christ, is the purpose of Christmas, is the reason for Christmas. You may not celebrate it that way. You may just want to give gifts, but what's behind it, we all kind of know. And that person laying on the deathbed, all of a sudden, is thinking about God. What comes next? Now, I'll be very honest with you. Some of them don't care. I've been with some people in palliative who they don't care. I'm done. But you have other people where it's sort of like there is an awareness. Something has to come next. You drive around any city. You see churches, you see synagogues, you see mosques. We're taught that there's a God. You go to the Hindu temple, the Sikh temple. They talk about God. It makes a person wonder what comes next. What comes after all of this? And all of a sudden, when you're faced with death, and we're all going to die one day. There is no getting out of here without dying. But then what? Then what? For many cradle Catholics, we know, we've been told. We grew up in it. We take it for granted. We're baptized. We try to live a good faith. We try to live a good life. And our promise is eternal life. So we have a knowing. But at the same time, am I really putting in a full day's work? Am I really putting in the effort in my faith life that I should be? I always find it amazing the number of Catholics who tell me, well, you don't have to go to church to have a relationship with Jesus. Well, it's true. That's very true. I also don't have to go to Ottawa to have a relationship with Pierre or Justin Trudeau. Pierre's dead. Justin's there. Do I have a relationship with him? Well, he doesn't know who I am. I know who he is, but he doesn't know who I am. Same thing's true with Jesus. Does Jesus know who you are? Are you making yourself available to him? Are you kind of standing up and waving and saying, here I am, Lord, I come to do your will? When we present ourselves at Mass, the high point is the reception of the Eucharist. Yes, we come to celebrate. Yes, we come to worship. Yes, we come to gather in community. But what we receive, that's what it's all about. And the challenge that you and I face as Catholics is how well do we recognize that in our own life, and how well do we share that piece of information with others? And therein lies part of the greatest challenge of all. Am I being the witness? Or am I kind of like that one laborer in the vineyard who has jealousy for God's mercy, God's forgiveness, God's love? At the end of the day, we're all going to die. At the end of the day, we're all going to stand before Jesus and have to answer for our lives. Please, God, that we can stand there and say, yes, Lord, I did the best I could with the tools you gave me. And then hopefully we will hear, well done, good and faithful servant. Enter into the place prepared for you for all time. It is September 24th, 2023, and it's the 25th Sunday in Ordinary Time. May God continue to watch over you, bless you, and keep you safe all the days of your life.